Bing. What's going on, man?
Not too much. It's funny you say Bing. I've been using Bing a little bit lately.
Yeah, I always forget that it's there. I don't know. I have a Chromebook, so it's hard for me to justify going to Bing ever.
Oh no, I downloaded the app on my iPhone because it's the only way you can get use their chatbot or whatever. Is
Oh
you have
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
you have to search
Hmm.
every day with Bing to help you climb the fucking uh climb the waiting list
Ah, gotcha.
because nobody else is going to use it otherwise.
So we gotta I gotta preface this with saying we haven't done a Steve Jeltz in a while, so we're gonna do one right now. But
Yeah, here we are.
you sent me a really cool birthday present. Um, Sent me the 5 Donruss signed Steve Jeltz card, and not only just that, that is the card that I had picked out for using the logo for our show. So it was like perfect, man. I had big smile on my face on that one. That was awesome. So
Hey man,
appreciate that.
every once in a while I think of a good thing to send someone, that's not like a piece of shit. Like,
Well, it was funny because I knew opening it up that it was a card, but I thought, well, so I'd ordered Katie a bunch of cards here and there, and have continued to do so at times. And it's like I haven't ordered anything. And then I forgot that you said, "Oh yeah, I sent you something else," and was like, "Ah, yes." It was
I'm just glad
awesome.
it came in good condition and everything. I was concerned because I'm always wary about buying cards off of eBay and stuff like that, and especially autographs because you never really know, and it's hard to tell. You never know what the condition is actually going to be,
Right.
and I've bought stuff on Amazon before that I know was not a real signature. Like I bought something and it came in and you could tell that it was just like a color printer. Somebody just printed a picture off of a color printer.
Oh
And I'm like,
man.
"Are you fucking serious right now?" But it was back in the early days of eBay where like you didn't really have any kind of, there's nothing you could really do.
Right. Or the funny thing is, you would get this portrait is authenticated by blah blah blah, and it was like basically authenticated by the seller.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, wait, the seller doesn't exist anymore. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, so that was cool, man. It was great for the namesake of our show. And but no, as we record this, the World Baseball Classic finished up last night. Amazing game. Just, quite honestly, just a amazing series, or whatever you want to call it, event, if you will, over the last 2-3 weeks. I mean, I was vested in. I've watched every U.S. game. Watched some other games. Uh, it was. I will say this. I know, and we'll get into some of the flack and controversy of the World Baseball Classic. Um, Everything was just. It was fun to watch competitive baseball this time of year, because let's be honest here, nobody cares about spring training.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, as far as, I'm not saying that like in the sense of not seeing your players play, being there at a baseball game. I'm just talking about in general, because the standings don't matter. It doesn't really count if, like, yeah, your team loses 15-5. It's like, whatever. They typically just look more at, let's make sure so and so got a quality at bat. Someone had a couple of good innings pitched. You're looking more at like mechanics of things,
Right.
because you're having, hey, your starters get a couple of at bats and then they immediately put in whoever else. They're just trying to see what they have typically at the back end of your roster. Whereas the World Baseball Classic, man, you basically fielded countries of teams of all stars, and it was awesome. Um, the thing that I will say was a downside for me in the championship game with Team USA and Team Japan. For Team USA, you start Merrill Kelly. And I'm sorry, unless you're a baseball fan, that name means nothing to you.
Right.
And he's certainly not a top, I don't know. I wouldn't put Merrill Kelly. I could think of 20 other pitchers I would rather have start that game.
Right.
And so I know talking to you a little bit beforehand, you kind of followed it, but did you have any notes on the WBC?
Great Britain's uniforms sucked ass.
Oh man, that was
Didn't get any better when they did the red ones. No, honestly, I thought it was a really fun series. I wish that it would have been more. I wish they would have made more of an effort to make it more available. One of the issues I had was I don't have cable, and I didn't really have a way to stream it.
mm,
So, like, I could watch it if I was at work, or like I'm sure I could have gone to a bar and watched, but they also didn't. I mean, at least not to my eyes. Like, it's not like with the other sports where you see, I would see freaking ads for the World Cup of Soccer fucking everywhere. And I don't give a shit about soccer. I did not seek that out, but it was in my face everywhere I turned. This, I feel like the ad campaign was weak. For such a cool concept and such a cool series. And it would have been great to be able to really sit down and dive into this, especially based on when you look at Team USA. Team USA had Trey Turner, it had Kyle Schwarber, and it had hometown boy Mike Trout. And we've
yeah,
talked about how much we would have loved to have seen Mike Trout become a Philly and how much we would still love to see that. So, and I had JT Realmuto,
yep,
who I would love to see a team with all those dudes on it competing at a high level. And like you said, it gives us baseball at a high level early on, showcases players that you may not get to see as often. Like, we don't really get to see Ohtani that often. We don't get to see Trout that often, but we got to watch the final out of the championship game is Ohtani versus Trout.
yep,
You know,
yep,
and dude, Ohtani is a generational talent, and not just because not because he's the best of the best at pitching or the best of the best at hitting and fielding. No, but when you can combine the two like he can, I'm not trying to engage in hyperbole here, but when's the last time that we had a two-way player that could excel at both of them?
yeah,
Babe Ruth.
yeah. You have to go back to Babe Ruth. And here's the funny thing, Babe Ruth, 714 career home runs, I believe 94 career wins pitching. Babe Ruth was a pitcher first,
Right.
and then transitioned to hitting. Ohtani is doing both at the same time. No, granted, look, we're talking different eras here.
Right.
It's crazy to think that you have a guy that is hitting balls, and I'm saying this and take it for what it's worth, though. He's hitting balls farther than anybody else. He's running the bases faster than anybody else, and he's throwing over 100 miles an hour. So it's not like that he's, and I believe, if I remember correctly, his WAR last year was over 10, which is insane.
Right.
And I know a lot of people were like, wow, MVP. Yeah. Until you look at Aaron Judge's ridiculous season, his
Right.
WAR was like over 13. So it's like, well,
Yeah, I mean, and it's like you said, it's not like he's going up there and throwing eephus pitches and doing the Jamie Moyer soft toss route.
Right.
He's going up there and throwing absolute fucking fire, and then when he's hitting, he's not Ichiro, he's not a slap hitter, he's not a singles hitter, he's fucking crushing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's fun to watch, and I completely agree because I don't go out of my way to watch Angels games.
right.
So it was fun to watch Ohtani. It's fun to watch Trout. It was fun to watch some of these other players that I just don't get to see. I really enjoyed watching Tim Anderson of the White Sox. He just, to me, he has that he feels like he could be on the Phillies. He has that moxie, about him. So a lot of players I enjoyed watching. The thing that was detrimental to me was the pitching. Look, the U.S. started. I believe it was the first game of this with Adam Wainwright. And it's like, look, I have nothing against Adam Wainwright, but he thought about retiring after last season.
Right.
And the fact that he's like a top starter for Team USA kind of bothers me. But that was the thing. They did not attract the top level pitchers. You had a lineup that had Trey Turner batting in the 9-hole. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. But then you had pitching like Merrill Kelly.
Right.
You had Adam Wainwright. You had pitchers that just – now, I will say this. They did have Devin Williams from the Brewers as a reliever. Boy, that opened my eyes up. That kid can pitch. I love seeing him pitch, and I will rue the day that the Phillies ever have to face him because he's nasty. And he just – I don't know. So he was good, but –
Well, and it's what sucks is I wish there was a different time that they could do this, but honestly, I feel like this is the only time of year that they could conceivably do it because you're not going to do it in the middle of the season.
no.
You're not going to do it after the playoffs, after the World Series. You can't, there's really nowhere else to put it and have it work. But what really sucks is look at some of the pitchers that they would have used. And honestly, the U.S. would have used guys like Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola. But these guys just had extended postseason runs and they can't do it.
Right.
Otherwise, it's going to be detrimental to their team.
Right. And as much as I hate to say it, honestly, starting we'll say game one, if you will, of this whole thing. This shouldn't have been Adam Wainwright. It should have been somebody like Justin Verlander.
Right.
Or, anybody else,
Right.
In fact, another one of the Cardinals pitchers was on there, Miles Michaelis. I believe I'm saying that correct. And he's a guy he was basically a journeyman. He started his career in the bigs, went to Japan and came back, and he's been flourishing. But he's like a 2 or 3 starter on the Cardinals.
Right.
And again, I'm not bad-mouthing him necessarily, but should be no reason why he's on Team USA.
Right.
You should have a Nola. You should have a Wheeler. You should have these aces. And it's a shame that they didn't. But I'm really looking forward to 26. So it was a fun to watch. I do agree it was rough to I can imagine being rough to catch. This was mostly aired on FS1, FS2. So it wasn't on, yes, somewhat common channels. But again, like if this were on like Fox, like really open up the audience, I could see people really, really getting into it. And I really enjoyed it. It was like the most fun baseball I've watched since the World Series. And the season hasn't started yet. So,
right. And honestly, some of the uniforms were pretty cool. Like it was cool. If you're trying to draw in people and you're trying to, people just flipping through the channels and they see baseball, they might think it's a college game or something like that and not really paying you mind until you see the uniforms. Because the uniforms really drew your eye, specifically Mexico.
mm-hmm.
There was some really good, and then there was fucking Great Britain.
Yeah, and they mentioned this on a broadcast. Take it for what it's worth. That was the one other bad thing. John Smoltz was broadcasting again.
It's fucking hate John Smoltz.
Yeah, but they did mention this during one of the broadcasts about Great Britain's uniforms. That apparently they had like something else ordered or done or designed, and what came in was not what they had gotten, so they had to rush.
Okay,
which is why you had like things like letters falling off.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the T falling off.
Yeah. So, but all I could think about was dodgeball.
Yeah.
Like, open up the boxes, and it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. Well, what was cool to me too, or at least kind of funny to me, because I was trying to figure out how the fuck Great Britain even fielded a team, and then I realized it must have been like they must have opened it up to where I guess where your parents were born or your grandparents?
Yeah, if you look at the rules, they're very loose. So you're either a national citizen, you have a parent. There's some other things there, but then you really dig into the rules. One of the rules is you can become a citizen. Not that you are, but that you can. And once that happens, that means you or I could go and play for Great Britain or Puerto
Yeah.
Rico or wherever.
Right, because I was looking at some of the rosters, and what made me look at it was I started thinking, I'm like, is baseball really that popular in Great Britain? And I started thinking, I'm like, nah, there's no fucking way. And then Vance Worley was pitching for him, and I'm like,
Right, right.
fucking Vance Worley, no. So I
Yeah.
looked it up, and like a lot of their players are from the Bahamas, which because the Bahamas didn't,
Right.
they were a fucking colony up until what, 73, I think, 63 or
Yeah.
73.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was like, Jesus, really? Okay. So it was kind of funny to see that kind of stuff too. Like,
Yeah, and a lot of people were. It was funny. The one player for Japan that let off a lot, Lars Nootbaar, who happens to play for the Cardinals, and Lars Nootbaar doesn't really scream as a Japanese name, but
no.
his mom is from Japan,
Okay.
and so if you like actually flesh it out, that's the whole reason why he played, because his mom was a Japanese national. His dad just happened to be like Dutch, German, American, whatever, which is why his name is Lars. You know, right? But it was
Yeah,
funny to hear a name like that leading off for Japan, where everyone else is a very obvious Japanese name.
Right.
But no, I completely agree. It was interesting to see how some of the rosters were built. Because like, yeah, you look at like a team like Israel, there's no way that they could field a team to be as competitive without the help of certain people, like them having to figure out the rules.
Right.
Because really at the end of the day, your top two teams were in the championship. And that makes sense based on how both of those countries, Japan and the US, how they treat baseball,
Right.
So everyone else, Mexico was up there too,
Yeah.
and
And then you
but
had
no.
the Cuban bullpen catcher defecting.
Yeah, pretty wild. I kind of figured it was going to happen with somebody. I don't know what his game plan is, but if he sees greener pastures, good for him.
Hey, Savannah Bananas are probably hiring.
That's right, man.
I think was it you or Danielle that said that?
No, that was me. No. Yeah, and I do want to talk a couple other things. We'll kind of dive in for more Philly or Philly sports centric stuff, as far as a little bit of Phillies as the season is getting ready to get underway, and I would love to chat about some Eagles offseason stuff. We have a couple of nice things that have happened since we last recorded, and maybe not so nice things. I want to speak for a minute on the XFL. I know you haven't watched a lot, maybe other than maybe some clips and stuff, or have you watched any games at all?
It's been very few and far between. I again, something I have a lot of interest in, but not having TV has made it a little bit hard. And then been dealing with some situations around here that have made it difficult to watch anything.
Right.
But it seems like it's doing okay. I guess I don't know. Has it been pulling in the ratings or?
I don't know. I haven't followed. I really watched a good chunk of the first 2 weeks. I hadn't. It's funny. I really hadn't, because the World Baseball Classic, and then of course the NCAA March Madness has kicked off. So a lot of my weekend time dumped into that last weekend. So I missed a lot of XFL stuff. They've been fun to watch. I will say that I love a couple of the rules that they have. There is no extra point kick. It's all based off of you can go for 1 point, 2 point, or 3 point, and it's all similar to going for 2 point conversion in the NFL. Like as far as like running a play, you can go for one from I think it's the 5-yard line. You can go for two from the 10-yard line. You can go from three. I think it's the 15. I might be misspeaking that, but it goes back. Right. But it's a cool thing, because I've seen it, like the 3 point, conversion make a big difference. So that's been fun. The other things I do like, instead of the onside kick to try to get the ball back, you have the option of going for it on the 4th and 15. So you automatically get another down to try to get the ball back. And if you convert that 4th and 15, that's yours. If you don't convert it,
So that's very similar to a rule that the Eagles have been trying to get passed in the NFL, where instead of doing an onside kick, you would get it 4th and 20.
Right.
And so they've been trying for years now to get that passed, but it just hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. The XFL 3-point tries are the 1 point is from the 2-yard line, the 2 points from the 5-yard line, and the 3 points from the 10-yard line. So I misspoke on that. The other thing too, have you seen the kickoffs at all? Like how the kickoff works? It's really interesting. So they don't really line up traditionally. In fact, they're not allowed to move at all until the receiver catches the ball, or if the ball has been on the ground for at least 3 seconds.
No shit.
So once they kick the ball, and it's been fun to watch in the sense of it because it looks different for one. So it's interesting, but two, it really promotes getting people to return kicks instead of fair catching all the time. So because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. I mean, that's one of the rough parts about football is, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people just get absolutely. It's fun to watch. Oh, yeah. I would not want to be on the other side of that.
As someone who, and obviously I never played at any level close to what they're doing, but I used to play on kickoffs when I played football. And it's fun to play on the kickoff team, the team that's actually kicking it, not the receiving team.
Yeah, because you're in motion. Yeah. There's a big difference there. So that's been fun to watch. So I do like some of the rules. The bad part is that you really don't have a lot of talent. So whenever you're talking about Ben DiNucci being the top quarterback in the league, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to him as a person or a player. That's just tough to say, we don't. And then it's interesting to see people like Josh Gordon. He's in there, still doing Josh Gordon like things, and obviously he could still probably play in the NFL, but a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why he's in the XFL.
Right.
And then it's cool to see some of the young guys. I can't remember the guy's name, but the running back for the San Antonio team is really electric. I think it's Ballig.
Oh, Kalen Ballage?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, he played for the Dolphins.
Yes, yeah. He's electric. He's fun to watch. And then you got some good players, but overall it's been fun. I think the things that hurt it are, again, lack of known talent, and then lack of teams. There's only 8 teams, so
yeah, that's a little
they
difficult.
play each other quite often, and the other thing too is like the Las Vegas team, they are playing in the converted minor league baseball stadium. Ooh. So it's kind of rough looking.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's I kind of feel like they should have had that worked out before maybe the team needs to have a place to play, unless they thought they were going to be able to use the fucking death Roomba, and
I don't know.
NFL shot them down.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I'm just glad that there's more football. And there's more football coming with the USFL, and we could dive into that, because Philadelphia has a team there, so we can really, do our sports talk some justice there. But speaking of
Philly lost 1, 2, 3, 4 fucking championships last year then, because obviously the Phillies, the Philadelphia Stars, the Union, and the Eagles.
Yeah. And if you really want to dive into it, in the championship game in the World Baseball Classic, it was 3-2. Those 2 runs were scored by Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, and I saw Schwarber hit I saw both of their homers. Man.
So it was Japan 3 and the Phillies 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Not good.
let's hope that's the last time we hear Phillies losing in a championship.
Yeah. Let's do Phillies, and I say we close up with the hot stuff with Eagles off season because that's been more of the fun stuff.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm actually going to have a take that you're going to be surprised about when it comes to that.
Yeah, no. So the Phillies are starting to start the season here. It's weird. March 30th. It's next Thursday. They start down in Texas, and
Fuck Texas.
I will say this enough to I will be at Game 3.
Nice.
So we're going to go down there for the. It's actually the first game of the ESPN Sunday night series. So of course we're sitting by the Phillies dugout. So
yeah.
No, I'm excited. It's hard spring training as far as what you have. I do want to say that Scott Kingery has been showing some awesomeness, and I would really hope he makes the roster. Unfortunately, I don't think he does.
Yeah, I think Sosa's going to end up stealing his spot.
Yeah, it's gonna be Sosa, and they're paying $2 million to Josh Harrison.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would love for it to be Kingery, just based on the fact that he had all the expectations in the world that he was going to be Chase Utley 2.0. Obviously flamed out. Didn't come close to meeting those expectations, and he's fought his way back, and he just hasn't given up. And there's something to be said for that, and I can really appreciate that.
Right, and the only thing I could think of is that either he does make the team off some oddball thing, or that now it's like, hey, look what we have here. Maybe he can finally be at least trade bait,
right?
For some, I don't know, but I would hope that at some point that he contributes for the Phils, because I love the fact that he's back where he was supposed to be this entire time for like the last 4 or 5 years. So, looking at Sosa's had an incredible spring training. Mark Appel retired, so that was kind of an interesting one to see, because I believe he was a non-roster invitee to spring training and just got blown up. And I think Phillies released him and was like, and then he just was like, I'm done.
Yeah. Which he was a good story. I mean, until this year.
Yeah, nice comeback story. He left baseball for 4 or 5 years, and then, I don't know. It's interesting. I kind of feel for the guy, but he's got some really good writings on Twitter, and really good to kind of see where he goes from here with it, because I think he has a lot to contribute. I just don't think it's as a player.
Right.
That's not his thing. I think he's got a lot of he's very intelligent and very well spoken. So I think he's got some to contribute for the world of baseball. It's just not on the field. As far as any other Phillies that have really shown anything, again, it's spring training, I really don't know. The Phillies are so deep anyway, as far as how the roster goes. You kind of know what you're getting and going in spring training. So you really have, unfortunately, 50 guys fighting for like 1 or 2 spots.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'd be curious to see who ends up with them. And a lot of it, could be luck, injury, whatever. So,
yeah. Hey, I'd rather have too many options than not enough.
Exactly.
And in years past, it's been a situation where it's like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Which of these assholes do we keep?
Yeah. We've lived many, many seasons that way. So, all right, let's get to the main event here with the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm curious, your thoughts so far on this offseason.
All right, so I see a lot of hatred and a lot of vitriol getting spit at one CJ Gardner-Johnson. And at first, that's kind of the camp I was in. Like, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. But I started thinking about it. And honestly, in the real world, were you or I to say, hey, you know what? We need to, we have some job offers. and we think we're worth more than what we're being offered.
Mhm.
And so we just say, you know what? I appreciate your offer. Let me get back to you. And then we go around and we try to shop because we think we're worth more. We try to shop around and we don't end up finding it. In the meantime, that employer has moved on. So we go with another employer because they still had an offer for us. May not have been what we were looking for, but it's a decent offer, right? Would we get would people hate us for that?
Well, not on social media.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, I completely understand they're in the public eye. It's not the same as the daily job. And look, he brings a lot of it on himself with his social media shit. But I'm not going to hate the guy for thinking he can do better, trying to do better, not being able to, and then by the time he comes back to the Eagles and he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll take that deal." They've moved on because again, it is a business and they had multiple holes to fill. They couldn't just be held up by one person. So I don't hate CJ Gardner Johnson. I dislike some of the like the Twitter games he's playing and shit like that. And I
Mhm.
dislike, I mean, I dislike, but I understand him saying, you know, this team's actually probably a little better than the Eagles team I played with last year because he's going to a new team. What's he gonna do? No, man, this team fucking sucks.
Right. Right.
You
No,
know,
no,
what do
no.
you expect
That's
him to fucking do?
right.
Right now, what I do, I love bringing Kelsey back. I love bringing back the guys they brought back. That said, I also feel like maybe maybe Kelsey should have taken a little bit. And again, this is me. This is me speaking as a fan, not as a player, and because I'm not a player, clearly. Um, but like BG came back and took a hometown discount to come back because he wanted to be here, wanted to um, be a part of winning with Jalen Hurts. Kelsey came back, and I think he took less than what he could have gotten. I think he could have gotten more elsewhere.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I also kind of wish he would have taken a little less because knowing the situation that your team is in and that you've got multiple places you're trying to improve, I kind of feel like, man, you've made money in your career. But then again, I'm not him. I'm not the one that's been putting my physical health on the line, missing time away from my family, all that stuff.
Right. And in his mind too, this could be it.
Right.
And
So
most likely is.
I mean, I think I've made it pretty fucking clear that I'm a huge Jason Kelsey fan. Um, I don't begrudge him taking the money while he can. Good job. Let's keep it going. Fletcher Cox took less, I feel like, than he could have gotten elsewhere. Um, I like bringing him back, but again, there's just certain people they brought back, like with him. I guess maybe you had to bring him back um, to help Jordan Davis since you lost Hargrave and you lost you're probably going to lose Sue and Linval Joseph because I can't see them bringing them back for another full year. Um, you lost both your starting safeties. You bring back Slay. I love Slay as a locker room guy. Uh, I guess you keep him and Bradbury and hope that they play to at least the level they played to last year. But they're both getting older, and corners
Right.
lose a step quick. So there's just certain things. I'm not mad at anything they've done at all, but I feel like did they do the smart thing or did they do the sentimental thing?
Yeah, and I agree. It's tough. I love seeing Slay come back. Obviously, I just think that the locker room, you know, I feel alone with him is good and just
Right.
good for the city, good
Oh,
for the
absolutely.
team. Obviously love seeing Fletcher and Jason Kelsey come back, and BG obviously, look, but I agree too. Look, he's another year on the tires. So what are you going to get? hopefully enough to perform, playoff level. The one thing that I guess concerns me right now is that you're basically rolling in with Reed Blankenship as your primary safety.
Oh, I'm not worried about Reed Blankenship.
I'm not either, but like the concern is that Reed Blankenship was your amazing backup who played his ass off and could start at any level, but now you basically have nothing behind him.
So
Because they signed the guy from the Saints? Was it Justin Evans or what's his name?
Oh shit, I can't remember his name.
The guy's basically played like one game or two games in the last 4 or 5 years. It's not a lot.
So here's my thoughts on what they're going to do. Now, what I would love to see, and this is where I'll take some shit, is I would love to see, Justin Evans is the safety. So I would love to see the Eagles go in the draft and get Brian Branch, who's a safety. He's probably one of the most ready, like plug and play ready players in the draft, and Bijan Robinson.
Yeah. I saw Bijan meeting in Philadelphia here recently.
I don't think they're going to get either of those guys.
Really?
I think what they're going to do is if Carter falls to 10, I think they snap him up, which I think is going to be a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at 30, if Robinson were to fall to 30, which he won't make it past he won't make it
past top 20. Yeah.
Yeah, he at the very least, the Bills are at 27. He won't last past the Bills at 20.
I don't think he'll make it. Honestly, I don't think he'll make it past top 20. That's just my
No, I agree. But I'm just saying, like, worst case scenario for him, if he falls, 27 is where it ends because he'll go to the Bills. But I think what the Eagles would do is they would trade. They're probably going to trade out of 30 to pick up an extra 2 or or a 3, and then more picks in the middle rounds. Because as it stands, after the second round, they don't pick until I think the 7th.
Yeah, it's very. Yeah, let's see here. Their current draft picks it's very broken basically. They've got the 2 first-round picks, and then they have a second and third. So their second and third right now is the third is a 94, and they don't go again until 219 and 7th.
Yeah.
And they also have the other 7th round pick from the Vikings in the Rager trade.
Yeah, which I could see them trying to get some more picks, but I don't want them to. I want them to pick where they're at, unless he can go from 10 to like 15, and then pick there, and pick at 30, and then pick up maybe a pick or 2 here and there. But I don't want to see him. I want them. They need to restock the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
And they need top talent to do it. And you get top talent, the easiest, most guaranteed way to get top talent, unless you're Howie Roseman drafting a receiver, is to draft first-round talent in the first round. And I say that, obviously Howie hit with Devontae Smith, but, you're going to need to restock on both lines. You're going to need we need a good impact safety. We need, if you really want to make that offense hum, if you want to make that offense unstoppable, give me Bijan Robinson, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Seriously, yes. I know that we don't look. Running back is not a glamour position anymore. It's not a highly sought after position anymore. You typically don't pay running backs anymore. You don't take them high. But when you've got 2 first-round picks, use one of those motherfuckers on a best running back in the fucking country.
Right, and that's the only thing I wonder is, and my take on that is, I don't know that they'd go after Bijan, only on the sheer fact of they got Penny from the Seahawks. They re-signed Boston Scott. I believe Gainwell's coming back, correct?
Yeah, Gainwell's still on his rookie.
So your top 3 guys are pretty much given there. I don't know where Bijan fits unless they trade off
So
Gainwell.
here's
I
the
don't,
deal.
because obviously you're not moving Penny or Scott because you just signed them.
Well, here's the deal. You've got currently under contract as far as running backs are concerned. You've got Boston Scott, you got Kenny Gainwell, you've got Trey Sermon from the 49ers. Don't forget
I
him.
always forget about him, yeah.
And then you've got Rashad Penny. They've only got guaranteed, I think, between those four guys, $2 million or $3 million guaranteed money.
Which
tied
most
up.
of that's the Boston Scott then.
Right. So you can move on from any one of those players. I think, and I could be completely wrong, and more than likely I am, because we know what positions the Eagles value, and running back is not one of them. But you have those four guys in your roster as a fail-safe in case you can't get Robinson in the draft, in case he ends up somebody gets a wild hair up their ass and he goes way.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I think maybe Penny is that signing, honestly.
Right.
And I hate to say this because I honestly think if I understand letting Miles Sanders walk, I hate it, but I understand it.
Right.
But having Kenny Gainwell there, man, he's just electric. I don't know that he's an everyday though.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, you go from having a stable of backs that equals a good back to having one of the most electrifying runners in the league. And think about, okay, granted, he didn't do anything to help them win a Super Bowl. But think about when the Eagles used to play Dallas and Ezekiel Elliott was playing. We constantly got victimized by Ezekiel Elliott, right? And that opened up the passing lanes for Dak. If we have a running back that they constantly have to be aware of, it's going to open up the passing game.
Yeah.
Because if they're constantly trying to, that's a player that they're going to have to use to constantly stay on him and to be cognizant of him. And Jalen Hurts is good with the RPO, and he's good at play action. Having that player, Bijan Robinson, a running back of that caliber back there, fucks with the defense's head so bad.
Right, and then opening up, and because you still have AJ Brown, you still have Devontae out there, you still have Dallas Goedert, you still have all these options out there to throw to.
And Grant Calcaterra, I believe, will take leaps and bounds this year as a backup tight end. I think we didn't see a lot from him last year, but I thought what we saw of him was good and was promising. This team looks to. I really wanted them to get a stud, maybe not break the bank, obviously, not spend a lot of money, but go after a guy like a McCole Hardman to be or somebody like that to be a third wide receiver and to be your kick returner and stuff like that, punt returner. Because that was an area that we completely fucking failed at.
Oh yeah, it was almost sad because some of the times you would hear like who's back there, and it's like, wait, why?
Right. And look, that's my biggest concern about this team, honestly, is the fact that they saw what they saw on special teams last year and didn't think that they needed to get a new special teams coach and didn't need to get a new punter. Because those two areas fucking completely. If Aaron Sipos can actually fucking punt a football, maybe that fucking and their coverage can actually hold, maybe the Eagles won the Super Bowl because you don't have a shitty punt followed by terrible coverage. And they're not returning the ball back into Eagles territory and putting themselves in a good position to score. That's not the only reason they lost the game. We've gone over that multiple times. There were other factors involved. Jalen fumbling the ball, the fucking the holding call that was ticky-tack as fuck. But but there were so many different things. But there were so many times during the year that you could point to the special teams and say, "Wow, fuck, that's gonna bite us in the ass at some point," and then it fucking did.
Yeah,
and they've done 100%. nothing to fix that.
No, and it's one of those unfortunate things too. And again, take this for what it is. Your flashy players are typically obviously taken top of the draft are not special teams guys.
Right.
So that's obviously not what they're looking for. And if they go special teams guys, it's going to be middle or bottom, and it's going to pretty much be the same caliber of what you just had. So, yeah.
I mean, maybe Devin Allen has another full camp, doesn't hurt himself, and he's able to step in and be the return man that we were hoping it would be last year. Maybe that happens. And then this conversation, at least from a returner standpoint, is moot. But you still have the same shitty coverage being taught by the same shitty special teams coach, and you still have the same shitty punter. So
Right.
you've got too much that's failing there. Too many links in the chain are just too weak.
I'm looking forward to when we do our, preseason review. And we get to do a preseason review this time on the Steve Jeltz.
Yeah, we do.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, we might need to rename it like the let's see. I'm trying to think of a good the Brad Gables Appreciation Society for that.
Wow, that's a deep name.
Do you remember him?
No, I was like the deepest. I was like Roger Ruzek.
Yeah, I mean, we could do Roger Ruzek, but I feel like people know who he was. Nobody fucking remembers Brad Gables except for me.
No,
I think he might have been a fever dream. But that was the year when Randall went down, when Bryce Paup hit him and broke his leg, and or destroyed his knee or whatever the fuck he did to him. And we had Jim McMahon playing, and then Jim McMahon got hurt, and then it was like what was his name? Something Kemp. He was like the senator's son that was playing, and then like Brad Gables, and like we went through like 6 or 7 quarterbacks that year. I want to say it was like 93, 92 or 93.
90, yeah, Brad Gable. He appeared in 6 NFL games, 2 in 91 as the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was dude. It was
Brad
rough.
Gable's Baylor. Yeah, Baylor. Wow. Holy crap, that dude was on the. You know what's funny? Brad Gable does have an interesting asterisk next to his name. He was on the inaugural Jacksonville Jaguars roster.
Get the fuck out.
Nope.
Huh.
So there you go.
And then I think for the when we eventually do a Flyers dissection of this season,
Ooh.
it'll have to be like the Peter Zezel Appreciation Society.
That's going to be 45 minutes to an hour of you just. It's all going to be F-bombs.
Just apoplectically losing my shit.